The study of history is often taken for granted, and many think that there's only a need to go back only so far to understand its application to the present. But if you read Chancellor Williams' book entitled The Destruction of Black Civilization, or even a more recent book by Malik Blade entitled Bloodlines of the Beast, you'll easily understand the fallacy in that belief. It was early in the 8th century that Moorish soldiers crossed over from Africa to the Iberian Peninsula, and the Moor chosen to lead them was General Tariq ibn Ziyad. It was within a month's time that he had effectively terminated European dominance on the Iberian Peninsula, and within 3 months had swept the entire territory. I'm speaking about the countries of Spain and Portugal. The Moors ruled the Iberian Peninsula for over 700 years before losing control of the region beginning in about 1200s, and then losing complete control by the mid-1400s. However, African people still remained in Spain. These first Africans in Spain were known as Ladinos, or Hispanicized Africans, and they were soldiers, servants, settlers, and slaves. So, what does this have to do with Texas? Well, it was from Spain that they began to arrive in the Americas, South, Central, and North America, as early as the 15th century, mid-1400s, and many of them as auxiliaries to the Spanish and Portuguese explorers. So, from the very onset of Spanish activity in the Americas, Africans were present both as voluntary expeditioners and as involuntary colonists. Esteban was perhaps the most notable African male to aid in the exploration of North America, and sometimes referred to as the Black Mexican. Was born in Azamar, Morocco. He was the first African in Texas, a territory which would eventually become the Western United States. And eventually, the states of Texas, New Mexico, and California each supported Afro-Hispanic American communities. Worth noting is that it wasn't until about 1821, some 400 years later, that Anglo settlers arrived in Texas, and listen to me carefully, they became the first English-speaking Mexican citizens in the territory. As I'm sure most of you are already aware, before the Anglo settlers in 1821, there were the Vaqueros, who first roamed the plains of Texas and New Mexico, working cattle in the most efficient way, from horseback. It's also worth noting that this was something the Vaqueros had already been doing for 223 years before the Anglo arrived. In the book, written by Kendall Nelson, entitled Gathering Remnants, a tribute to the working cowboy, all of the skills, traditions, and ways of working with cattle are very much rooted in the Mexican Vaquero. Now, according to the writer, 1 out of every 3 cowboys in the late 1800s was a Mexican Vaquero. So, if you are a cowboy in the United States today, you have developed what you know from the Mexican Vaquero.